The Cutler-Hammer BR2430L meter loop is not convertible to a main breaker panel. Leaving the 2-meter loop openings open at the top of the interior is a concern, as it creates a potential electrical hazard. Unsecured meter loop openings can allow for the insertion of foreign objects or live wires, which could lead to electrical shocks, fires, or damage to equipment. To address this concern, you can install a cover plate or terminal block over the open meter loop openings to prevent access and ensure electrical safety. The meter loop openings are designed to connect to a specific main breaker. Installing a main breaker in another location would leave the meter loop openings open and unsecured, potentially posing a hazard. For safety and code compliance, it is recommended to either install a cover plate or terminal block over the open meter loop openings, or use a different panel design that incorporates a main breaker and is designed for this specific application. It's crucial to prioritize electrical safety when dealing with electrical panels and meter loops. Leaving openings exposed can lead to serious consequences, so taking the necessary precautions is essential. Consider the implications of modifying electrical equipment and always adhere to safety guidelines and electrical codes. If you are unsure about any aspect of electrical work, it is always best to consult a qualified electrician. Electrical safety is paramount, and it is important to take all necessary steps to prevent accidents and ensure the safe operation of electrical systems. When working with electrical panels, it's important to identify all the components. Meter loops, also known as meter sockets, are enclosures that house the electrical meter. The meter measures the amount of electricity being used. A main breaker is a large circuit breaker that controls the flow of electricity to the entire electrical panel. It is used to disconnect power to the panel in case of an emergency. A circuit breaker is an electrical device that protects circuits from overloads and short circuits. It automatically trips and disconnects the circuit if it detects too much current flowing through it. A cover plate is a piece of material used to cover an opening or an electrical box. It is typically made of metal or plastic. A terminal block is a device that provides a convenient and safe way to connect multiple electrical wires. These components are connected to the grounded conductors and grounding conductors in an electrical system. Grounded conductors, typically identified by a white or gray color, provide a return path for current to the source. Grounding conductors, usually green or bare copper, provide a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, protecting against electrical shock. The NEC, or National Electrical Code, contains guidelines for safe electrical installations. The code covers a wide range of topics, including wiring methods, overcurrent protection, and grounding. Local amendments to the NEC may be implemented by municipalities or jurisdictions to address specific local conditions or requirements. It is important to consult local authorities to determine if any local amendments apply in a particular area. Always consult the latest edition of the NEC and any applicable local amendments for the most up-to-date information. Now, consider the implications of working on a meter loop and adding a main breaker. When adding a main breaker to an existing system, it is important to ensure that the new breaker is properly rated for the load it will be serving. The breaker must be able to handle the maximum current that the circuit is expected to carry. The breaker must also be compatible with the existing panel. When selecting a breaker, it is important to consult the manufacturer specifications. The manufacturer will provide information on the breaker's ampacity, voltage rating, and interrupting capacity. It is also important to ensure that the breaker is properly installed. The breaker must be securely mounted in the panel, and the wires must be properly connected. If the breaker is not properly installed, it could pose a safety hazard. Now, focus on the specific issue of open meter loop openings. Leaving meter loop openings open can create a number of hazards. Firstly, it can allow for the entry of foreign objects such as tools, wires, or even small animals. These objects can come into contact with live electrical parts, which can cause electrical shocks, fires, or equipment damage. Secondly, open meter loop openings can provide a path for moisture and dust to enter the electrical panel. Moisture and dust can corrode electrical components and reduce their lifespan. They can also create a conductive path between electrical parts, which can lead to electrical shorts. Thirdly, open meter loop openings can make it easier for unauthorized people to access the electrical panel. This can increase the risk of tampering, vandalism, or theft. To prevent these hazards, it is important to cover the meter loop openings with a cover plate or terminal block. A cover plate is a simple and inexpensive way to close off the opening. It is typically made of metal or plastic and is secured to the panel with screws. A terminal block is a more sophisticated solution that provides a convenient way to connect multiple electrical wires. It also provides a degree of insulation and protection against accidental contact. The choice between a cover plate and a terminal block depends on the specific application. If the opening is simply being closed off, a cover plate is sufficient. If wires need to be connected, a terminal block is the better choice. When selecting a cover plate or terminal block, it is important to choose one that is specifically designed for use with electrical panels. The cover plate or terminal block should be made of a non-conductive material and should be properly sized for the opening. It is also important to ensure that the cover plate or terminal block is securely installed. The screws should be tightened to the manufacturer's specifications. When working on electrical equipment, it is important to follow all safety precautions. Always disconnect the power before working on any electrical components. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment such as safety glasses and gloves. Use insulated tools. Work in a dry environment. If you are not comfortable working on electrical equipment, consult a qualified electrician. The potential hazards of open meter loop openings should be understood and addressed. The risks associated with leaving these openings exposed include electrical shock, fire, equipment damage, and unauthorized access. Proper maintenance and safety measures can mitigate these risks. It is important to implement the appropriate solution based on the specific conditions and requirements of the electrical installation. The NEC provides guidelines for safe electrical installations. Section 110.12 addresses mechanical execution of work, requiring electrical work to be installed in a neat and workmanlike manner. This includes properly closing unused openings in electrical enclosures to maintain safety and prevent the entry of foreign objects. Section 314.17 covers the proper closing of openings in boxes and conduit bodies, ensuring that unused openings are effectively closed. Section 408.7 addresses the closing of openings in panel boards and switchboards. In addition, local amendments to the NEC may impose further requirements related to the closing of openings in electrical equipment. These local amendments can vary depending on the jurisdiction and may address specific local conditions or concerns. It is important to consult local authorities to determine if any local amendments apply in a particular area. It is imperative to comply with all applicable codes and regulations. This ensures the safety of people and property and minimizes the risk of electrical hazards. It also avoids potential legal issues and liabilities associated with non-compliance. Compliance with electrical codes and regulations is a fundamental aspect of responsible electrical work. The NEC is updated every 3 years to reflect new technologies and best practices. It is important to stay informed about the latest changes to the code and to apply them to all electrical installations. Staying up to date with the NEC ensures that electrical work is performed in accordance with the latest safety standards. It also helps to prevent electrical accidents and injuries. In summary, the Cutler-Hammer BR2430L meter loop is not designed to be converted into a main breaker panel. This means that the existing meter loop opening should not be left exposed. There are several ways to address this issue. Firstly, you can install a cover plate over the opening. This will prevent access to the electrical components inside the panel and will help to protect against electrical shock. Secondly, you can install a terminal block over the opening. This will provide a convenient way to connect electrical wires and will also help to protect against electrical shock. Finally, you can replace the meter loop with a different panel design that incorporates a main breaker. This is the most expensive option, but it will provide the most complete solution. In addition to these options, it is also important to ensure that the electrical panel is properly grounded. Grounding helps to protect against electrical shock by providing a path for fault current to flow back to the source. It is also important to ensure that the electrical panel is properly labeled. Labeling helps to identify the different circuits in the panel and can prevent accidental electrical shock. Proper electrical safety practices should be followed. This means wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, such as gloves and safety glasses. It also means disconnecting the power before working on any electrical components. If you are not comfortable working on electrical equipment, you should consult a qualified electrician. It is also crucial to ensure the electrical equipment is installed and maintained according to the manufacturer's instructions. Deviating from the instructions can lead to safety hazards. It is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully. It's important to remember that electricity can be dangerous. If you are not careful, you could be seriously injured or even killed. Always take the necessary precautions to protect yourself and others from electrical shock. Always consult a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns about electrical safety. Proper planning and preparation are essential. Before starting any electrical work, it is important to plan the project carefully and to gather all of the necessary materials and tools. It is also important to inspect the electrical panel and to identify any potential hazards. Do not attempt any electrical work if you are not properly trained and qualified. Electrical work should only be performed by qualified electricians who have the necessary training and experience. Improperly performed electrical work can be dangerous and can lead to serious injuries or even death. Ongoing maintenance is also essential. Electrical equipment should be inspected regularly to identify any potential problems. Any problems should be repaired promptly by a qualified electrician. Proper maintenance will help to ensure that electrical equipment is operating safely and efficiently. It is also important to keep the electrical panel clean and free of debris. Dust and debris can accumulate in the panel and can create a fire hazard. The electrical panel should be cleaned regularly with a vacuum cleaner or damp cloth. Never use water or other liquids to clean the electrical panel. Water and other liquids can conduct electricity and can create an electrical shock hazard. It is also important to keep the area around the electrical panel clear. Do not store flammable materials near the electrical panel. Flammable materials can ignite if they come into contact with electrical components. Keep the area around the electrical panel clear of obstructions so that it is easy to access in case of an emergency. The installation of a cover plate or terminal block is a simple and effective way to protect against electrical hazards. This is a cost-effective solution that can be implemented quickly and easily. It is a practical solution that can be used in a variety of situations. A cover plate or terminal block can be installed by a qualified electrician or by a homeowner who is comfortable working with electrical equipment. The installation process is relatively simple and straightforward. It is important to follow the manufacturer's instructions carefully when installing a cover plate or terminal block. The cover plate or terminal block should be securely mounted to the electrical panel. The screws should be tightened to the manufacturer's specifications. The final inspection and testing is a crucial step. After the installation of a cover plate or terminal block, it is important to inspect the electrical panel to ensure that everything is properly installed and connected. It is also important to test the electrical panel to ensure that it is operating safely and efficiently. The inspection and testing should be performed by a qualified electrician. If any problems are found during the inspection and testing, they should be repaired promptly. Now to summarize, electrical hazards associated with open meter loop openings are real and should not be ignored. By taking the necessary precautions, you can protect yourself and others from electrical shock and fire. It is essential to prioritize electrical safety when dealing with electrical panels and meter loops. Leaving openings exposed can lead to serious consequences. Taking the necessary precautions is essential. It is also important to consult a qualified electrician if you are unsure about any aspect of electrical work. Remember, electrical safety is paramount. Take all necessary steps to prevent accidents and to ensure the safe operation of electrical systems.